Welcome to Tales of the Twisted, true stories of the strange, weird, bizarre, and eerie. Each episode reveals real events that blur the line between tragedy and mystery. Stories that remind us that sometimes the truth is the most haunting part of all. Let's get into the story of the Sodder Children, the fire that erased a family. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, a small Appalachian town where families still gathered by the fire, exchanging gifts and stories before midnight mass. In a modest two-story home on a quiet rural road, George and Jenny Sodder tucked their 10 children into bed. The Sodders were well known in the community. George, an Italian immigrant, owned a small trucking business. Jenny stayed home to raise their children, bright, lively kids ranging in age from 3 to 23. The family was close-knit, but that night, something strange was already brewing. Around 12:30 a.m., the phone rang. Jenny answered it. A woman's voice, one she didn't recognize, asked for someone Jenny didn't know. Behind her, laughter and clinking glasses echoed, kind of like a party in the background. Jenny told the caller she had the wrong number. The woman laughed softly before hanging up. Jenny thought little of it, but as she turned off the lights and headed back to bed, she noticed something odd. The downstairs lights were still on, the curtains open, the door unlocked. She saw Marion, one of her older daughters, asleep on the couch. The rest of the children, she assumed, had gone upstairs. She switched off the lights, locked the door, and went to sleep. It was the last normal moment the Sodder family would ever know. At 1 a.m., Jenny woke to the smell of smoke. She ran into the hallway. Thick, black smoke was rolling down the stairwell. George shouted for the children. They rushed to the windows, coughing and choking. Jenny, George, and 4 of the children, Marion, Sylvia, John, and George Jr., managed to escape through the front door and into the freezing night. But 5 children remained trapped inside. Maurice, who was 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, and Betty, only 5. George tried to go back in, but the staircase was already engulfed. He smashed a window, slicing his arm wide open. He ran to get his ladder, but the ladder was gone. He then tried to move his 2 trucks to the side of the house to climb up to the window, but both trucks, which had worked perfectly the day before, wouldn't start. Now the fire is raging uncontrollably. Neighbors are gathering. Someone tried to call the fire department, but there was no operator on duty. It took the Fayetteville Fire Department nearly 7 hours to arrive. By then, the house was just reduced to a pile of ash and smoke. Everyone assumed the 5 missing children had perished in the flames. But when the fire cooled and the search began, no one could find any remains at all. Authorities combed through the ashes. Not a single bone, not a fragment of skull, not even teeth. Experts later testified that even in a fire hot enough to destroy a home, bones do not completely disintegrate. There should have been something left behind. But there was nothing. When the state fire marshal ruled the cause as faulty wiring, George disagreed. He had recently had the wiring inspected, and it was fine. Even stranger, the family's lights had stayed on during the fire, which wouldn't have been possible if faulty wiring was to blame. Then came the witness reports. A telephone repairman told investigators the home's phone line hadn't burned. It had been cut. A neighbor reported seeing a man stealing a block and tackle from the Sodder property around the time of the fire. Others say they saw a man nearby with a strange truck the next morning. And one woman swore she saw the missing Sodder children alive, watching the blaze from a car parked on the highway. Over the next few years, reports poured in from all over the country. A woman in Charleston claimed she saw the 5 children at a tourist stop the morning after the fire, riding in a strange car with Florida license plates. Another witness, a waitress in a nearby town, said she served breakfast to a group of children matching their description, accompanied by 2 well-dressed Italian men and a woman. A third sighting came from St. Louis, where a woman said one of the missing girls was attending a convent school. Each lead ended the same way: inconclusive, unverifiable, and endlessly haunting. In 1947, desperate for answers, George and Jenny did something no family had ever done before. They erected a massive billboard on Route 16 near their home. It read, "5 Sodder children missing since fire, December 24th, 1945. Help us find them." Below were the names and photos of each missing child: Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty. The billboard became a landmark, a monument to grief and defiance that stood for nearly 40 years. Drivers from across the country passed it, many sending letters or tips to the Sodder family. But none of those tips ever led to the truth. In 1967, over 20 years after the fire, Jenny received an envelope in the mail. No return address, and it was postmarked from Kentucky. Inside was a photo of a man in his 20s, dark hair, deep eyes, and a handwritten note. It said, "Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie." The resemblance was undeniable. The young man looked exactly like her missing son Louis. George and Jenny hired a private investigator to track down the sender. He took the case and vanished. The photo was never explained. Decades of speculation followed. Some believe the Sodder children were kidnapped as revenge for George's outspoken anti-Mussolini views. He had been critical of Italy's dictator, which made enemies within the local Italian community. Others suspected organized crime. The ladder moved, the truck sabotaged, the phone line cut, all signs of planning. Then there was the theory that the fire had been staged, a diversion to cover an abduction. But if the children were taken, why? And by whom? No ransom was ever demanded. No bodies were ever found. And the fire's true cause remains unproven even to this day. George and Jenny never rebuilt their home. Instead, they turned the site into a memorial garden, surrounding it with flowers and the billboard that would stand for decades. George died in 1969, still searching for answers. Jenny wore black for the rest of her life and passed away in 1989 without ever knowing what happened to her 5 children. Today, the surviving Sodder siblings, now elderly, continue to seek closure. Theories still circulate online, in documentaries, and among amateur sleuths. Were the children kidnapped, murdered, hidden away by someone who knew the family? We may never know, but what we do know is this. On Christmas Eve, 1945, 5 children vanished, leaving behind no evidence, no remains, and no explanation. Only a mystery carved in smoke and ash. You've been listening to Tales of the Twisted, true stories of the strange, weird, bizarre, and eerie. If this story left you haunted, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with someone who loves the mysterious and unexplained. Because sometimes the answers we seek are already gone, burned away with the past.